Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today we're going to continue talking about the Metaverse. And that, I guess, is going to replace the internet. That's the next big thing. So I guess we could mention that if you're interested in making some money, you could probably invest in some platforms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Of course, you need to choose which one you think is going to make money. It could be a winner. It could be a loser. And then we're also going to talk about exactly what the Metaverse is and how it's going to affect the average person.
Yeah, if you do invest, you might want to invest with cryptocurrency, which is a little safer these days than fiat, which is just real money that we use in exchange between each other for things. The world's getting kind of crazy. It seems like everything is becoming digital or virtual. Even our socializing, people tend to text each other more than get together and, just go out for a meal, which is really fun. I miss that. So we're going to talk about Metaverse and how it might affect us in the future. We talked earlier in day one about how it came to be, or at least this idea emerged from a sci-fi novel that was published back in 1992 called Snow Crash. You might want to read that to get a good background in it. But the author, Neil Stephenson, envisioned the metaverse as being the successor to the internet. But his world that he created was a little bit dark and depressing, very gloomy. We called it a dystopian vision of the world. The world was suddenly being controlled by powerful companies, tech companies, and private businesses. And the people were just kind of little slaves in that world. We're going to talk more about what the metaverse might be like, how it might roll out, and why people have some worries about it as well. We're going to read through day 2, and then we'll be back.
Though the concept of a complete and open virtual world is an exciting one, it's also stoking controversy and concern. The problems presented in Snow Crash's metaverse concept could easily become real issues, along with the problems facing the current internet that a metaverse might intensify. One of these, of course, is privacy and safety. Worries around how companies and advertisers use our personal data have escalated in recent years, and personal data use in a metaverse could make it even harder to maintain privacy. Advertising may also become more invasive and aggressive if immersive ad experiences are brought into what feels like a real-world space. While tech leaders have said they don't want this to be the case, it's hard to know what latitude private companies might be given in such an unrestricted virtual world. Misinformation, which already spreads like wildfire on today's internet, could become an even bigger problem in an alternate reality that can be shaped by external forces. There are also ethical issues which must be addressed before a metaverse can be made secure for all. Fraudulent representations of people, like deep fakes or hacked avatars, could cause great harm to users. All in all, the rights and safety of users are vital in the development of any kind of metaverse. All these discussions aside, the metaverse still seems to be a future ambition rather than a current shift in technology trends. While many aspects of our lives are now associated with digital environments, there are still numerous dilemmas to be resolved before we can consider integrating these disparate aspects into a single massive experience that the metaverse would provide. To avoid the corporate dystopia of Snow Crash, it's best to work proactively to make any future metaverse safe for users before we ever log in.
Okay, guys, we'll get started with day 2. The concept of a complete and open virtual world is an exciting one to a lot of people. Yeah, it's also, though, stoking controversy and concern. To stoke. To stoke means to increase the amount or strength of something. We use it to talk about, you might want to stoke a fire by adding more wood to it. You could use it to talk about an ad campaign being used to stoke sales or improve sales. Maybe poor revenue figures that your company has. Those figures have stoked concerns about possible layoffs. So it can be used in a positive or negative way. Here it's stoking controversy. Controversy is when there's some sort of topic or argument that involves a lot of people who strongly disagree about something. They can disagree. One side will disagree and another side will say, no, you're wrong. It can be any sort of topic, but it's stoking controversy or arguments among people, and it's also increasing concern among people as well.
Right, stoking, just adding fuel to a fire. It's causing controversy, basically. Controversy is just something that people don't agree on. There are lots of controversial things in the world, like free speech or gun ownership and stuff like that. Those are all controversial. So here it's stoking controversy about such a metaverse. Is it something that we want? And if we do want it, how are we going to control it? And of course, it's also stoking concern. People are concerned about this. They're worried about this. Is this going to mean the end of the world? Are we all going to be little slaves stuck in little boxes like they were in the Matrix or whatever, with wires attached to you and you have no freedom? Now, the problems presented in Snow Crash's metaverse concept could easily become real issues, along with the problems facing the current internet that a metaverse might intensify. So, of course, we've already got the internet, and the internet has lots of problems with security and false information and stuff like that. Well, these problems could be even worse with the metaverse. So, again, the concept could easily become real issues, or at least the problems could become real issues as they were discussed in the book.
Yeah, this word intensify is similar to stoke, right? To increase the strength of something. So one of the problems, of course, that I'm most worried about is privacy. Once you're completely online or immersed in this metaverse, you have no privacy, and anyone can hack into your computer and steal whatever they need to or want to, and it might not be safe. If someone's hacking into your account or watching your virtual world that you live in, they might figure out where you are, what your schedule's like. So if they want to attack you or come and, rob your house or hurt you in some way, they would be able to figure out where you are exactly. You need to be careful when you're online, that's for sure. So privacy, what is privacy? It's just the state of being away from public attention. We often will talk about how celebrities have no privacy. Everybody wants to know everything they do 24/7 or all day long. So privacy is very important, but you lose your privacy the more you are online. It's just a fact of life. People can figure out your opinions on things. They know what you buy, what sites on the internet you look at. All of that stuff is being recorded these days, so it's hard to have any privacy.
Indeed, and I don't really spend a lot of time on the internet, at least not as much as other people do, but I'm still concerned because, hey, if you don't spend a lot of time on the internet, people may notice that, and they'll wonder what the heck you're up to and what your problem is, so they might come after you there. So the future does not look so bright, at least to me, and worries around how companies and advertisers use our personal data have escalated in recent years, and personal data use in a metaverse could make it even harder to maintain privacy. So people are worried about what advertisers and companies are going to do with our personal data. Now, when you go online, of course, you do give information about yourself. Quite often when you order things, you have to give them various personal information and stuff like that. So worries have escalated. Here we've got the word escalate, which means they have increased. like a conflict in a certain part of the world may escalate. It may get worse and worse. People will start fighting more and more. And also this word is related to those things that you stand on when you're trying to get out of the MRT station. You stand on an escalator, whereas if you go in a little box and it goes straight up and down, that's an elevator. I'm kind of surprised that a lot of people in Taiwan have trouble with the difference between those two words, escalator and elevator, but here escalate is a verb.
You know, I never hear anyone say escalator in English in Taiwan. That's interesting. To be honest, I don't know what it is in Chinese. I just know 电梯.
I know it's escaleta in Japanese.
They kind of cheat with their words. So, yeah, escalate. We'll often use it to talk about how something bad becomes even worse. For example, maybe you had an argument and it escalated into the breaking off of a friendship. Maybe, you know, it was a little tiny argument to begin with, and then it just kept getting worse and worse, and now you can no longer be friends with someone. Or maybe a conflict between countries has suddenly escalated into war, where people are trying to kill each other. So escalate, yeah, to become worse and worse. And as Tom said, the escalator... The escalators, we always, not always, but I want to take the escalator, those steps that move up and down.
I think it's 电扶梯 in Chinese, and 电梯 is elevator.
Oh, 电扶梯. Oh, thank you.
So
yeah, those are convenient.
Yeah, but they're not really related to the topic for today.
No, they are not.
Although you may need to take an escalator upstairs in your house in order to turn your computer on in order to go into the Metaverse.
Who has an escalator in their home?
Yeah, who would? Those are only exist in buildings and metro stations and stuff like that. But indeed, it may be harder to maintain your privacy because of all these companies getting involved and getting your personal information and stuff. So we all need to be careful about that. And we'll continue talking about this in just a couple of seconds. But right now we're going to take a break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, 我是派老师。今天讲解的是2月份 Unit 10 New Worlds and New Worries in the Metaverse 第2天的课程。第1天的课程介绍了 Metaverse 这个概念，还有它的应用。作者介绍了一些 Metaverse 的好处。不过，在英文写作当中，有些说明文如果要介绍某个议题，通常不会只呈现正面，也会介绍可能引发的问题或顾虑，从正反两面的角度切入会更加客观。而我们这个单元第2天的部分，就是在介绍 Metaverse 可能有哪些问题，是很好的议题说明范文。好，我们一起看看第1段的学习重点吧。首先，请先看第1句。Though the concept of a complete and open virtual world is an exciting one， 这个句子其实就是一整段的主题句。这句话的意思是说，尽管完整开放的虚拟世界这个构想令人振奋，却也引发了争议，还有担忧。所以请同学特别注意 stoking 这个动词，这里呢就是引发了争议还有担忧的意思。再来，请看到第2个句子，请同学特别注意 The problems presented in Snow Crash's Metaverse concept 这个句子里面，主要的动词在哪里呢？就是在后面这个 intensify， 这个动词的意思是加剧。整句话的意思是说，现今的网络本来就有问题，元宇宙呢可能会让原有问题进一步的加剧。接下来我们请看到第4个句子 Worries around how companies and advertisers use our personal data have escalated。 请同学特别注意到 in recent years， 通常呢我们只要用到 recently in recent years 这些句子的时候，这样子的时间副词，我们通常都会用现在完成式。再来，请同学注意的是词语搭配 ，escalate 有提升、升级的意思。通常像紧张的局势越来越紧张，我们也会用 escalate 这个动词，意思就是近年来有越来越多人非常的关心，非常的忧虑。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's continue to talk about the metaverse. And again, we're talking about some of the controversy that has been stoked. People are worried about the metaverse that's coming. I don't think we're going to be able to stop it. And I don't think it was actually started in that book. I think the concept of the metaverse was out there somewhere.
I think you're right, Tom.
It was only a matter of time before someone would think of that. Hey, yes, we have the internet, and that will gradually evolve into the metaverse, which we're all going to have to learn about as time goes on. Now, of course, we've got worries about privacy and safety and companies and stuff like that. Let's talk about advertisers. Advertising may also become more invasive and aggressive if immersive ad experiences are brought into what feels like a real-world space. Okay, so of course we're all approached by advertisers all the time when we're on the internet. So when I watch YouTube videos, of course, there's always an advertisement on the screen, on the lower part of the screen of the video, and you have to click the little X to get rid of it. But advertising is always there, but it may become more invasive. And if something's invasive, well, it invades. It kind of comes into your private space, and it's difficult to get rid of it. Most often we see the word invasive when we talk about invasive species, like animals that aren't supposed to be here, but they got brought in, like the common myna, for example, and a species of starling is invasive. They are invasive species. They weren't in Taiwan before, but now they're here, and they're causing problems for local birds.
Now, it's becoming quite invasive and aggressive. You know, if you click off on an ad, sometimes another one pops up immediately. It gets kind of irritating after a while, but that's the way they make money off these sites, is to advertise. You may not have the option to click off an ad. You know, it may force you to go through and watch their little video. Some of those video ads don't click off immediately. You are forced to watch the whole thing, or at least 5 seconds. While tech leaders have said they don't want this to be the case, it's hard to know what latitude private companies might be given in such an unrestricted virtual world. We don't know. Latitude is kind of an informal word. It just means freedom to choose how to act or what to do. So maybe when you were growing up, you were given a lot of latitude about what time to come home as a teenager. In my parents' home, we had to be home by 10 o'clock. That was a pretty strict rule. On the weekends even, 10 o'clock, so that we didn't get into trouble, because only trouble happens if kids stay out late. That was their opinion. So sometimes you're given a lot of latitude at work. Your boss allows you to decide how to accomplish a task that you're given, and sometimes you're not given any latitude. You're told exactly what to do. So latitude just means freedom to choose what to do or how to act.
Exactly. So we don't know what kind of freedom or flexibility these private companies may be given in this unrestricted virtual world. Of course, they'll probably be very controlled in dictatorships, but in open societies, who knows how much these advertisers are going to be controlled. And maybe even they might even actually force you to buy their products.
Yeah, maybe.
Against your choice. And if you don't pay the money, they're going to send people over with baseball bats and teach you a lesson.
They can always cut you off. That's what they do to us if they don't like what we do. They just shut us down, right?
I guess so, exactly. There are ways to punish you if you don't conform. And misinformation, which already spreads like wildfire on today's internet, could become an even bigger problem in an alternate reality that can be shaped by external forces. Of course, we always are dealing with misinformation or fake news and stuff like that. It spreads like wildfire on the internet. Wildfires, of course, spread rather quickly in Australia and California and places like that. And this could become an even bigger problem in the metaverse because it's an alternate reality. Alternate means another kind of something, a different version of something, an alternate. Maybe your highway, the highway you take to your office is crowded today, so use an alternate. Take another highway instead.
We use this mostly in the U.S. The Brits don't use this particular definition. So we just use it as something other than the usual or typical, as Tom said. We took an alternate route because of the traffic. We'll often use it like that. Alternate reality, a different reality that can be shaped by external or outside forces. Now, there are also ethical issues. An ethical issue would have to do with moral issues or things involving the question of right and wrong behavior. Ethical is another word for moral. So some people will think, well, there are ethical principles or standards that we should adhere to or follow. So there are ethical issues that must be addressed before a metaverse can be made secure for all. Now, fraudulent or fake representations of people. So if something's fraudulent, it's fake. There are things called deep fakes out there where an image or a recording, a video of someone has been altered and manipulated to misrepresent someone doing or saying something. That happens in news programs, unfortunately, even on TV. We'll see some of these videos being manipulated or misrepresenting what someone said. You need to get the full recorded video to know that what you're watching is true. That can happen. Hacked avatars. People can use your avatar as if the actions of the avatar are coming from you when they're not. They're coming from someone else who's hacked in to your computer. So that could cause great harm. All in all, the rights and safety of users are vital or essential in the development of any kind of metaverse. I'm not really sure how they're going to enforce this stuff because we already have a lot of problems with these things.
Yep, the cat is already out of the bag. The beans have been spilled, so now we have to figure out how to clean up that mess.
Sure.
And then we've got the metaverse coming, and there's going to be an even bigger mess there. But all these discussions aside, the metaverse still seems to be a future ambition rather than a current shift in technology trends. So even though these things are true, these discussions are worth talking about, still it seems that the metaverse is a future ambition. It's not really here just yet. And yes, indeed, it just seems to be an idea, an ambition from some people like Mark Zuckerberg, etc., and the South Korean government. But it hasn't really got here. It's not a current shift in technology trends. The internet is still king.
So we've got a lot of aspects or parts of our lives currently that are now associated with digital environments. I get a lot of my work through Line, which is on the internet. We communicate with each other so often just using text messages, you know. So some of our lives are already very much associated with digital environments. There are still numerous dilemmas to be resolved. A dilemma is some sort of problem or situation where you have to make a difficult choice. So sometimes you are faced with those dilemmas and you have to spend some time figuring out what is important to you and what you want to do that will make your life better. These dilemmas have to be resolved or figured out before we can consider integrating these disparate, meaning very distinctive, separate aspects into a single massive experience that the metaverse would provide. Those are really important points to make.
And to wrap up here, it says, to avoid the corporate dystopia of snow crash, it's best to work proactively to make any future metaverse safe for users before we ever log in. So again, we want to avoid this corporate dystopia. Corporate means having to do with corporations. And of course, this is the bad world of the future in which companies and corporations control everybody. So we should be proactive. Don't be passive. Get out there and do this yourself. Don't wait for others to tell you to do this. Be proactive. And so we can make the future metaverse safe for users before it comes and before we ever log in and work out a password and fun stuff like that. Something to think about for sure. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. Let's listen now to our Chinese teacher.
接下来请同学看到第二段第二个句子。While tech leaders have said they don't want this to be the case, it's hard to know what latitude private companies might be given in such an unrestricted virtual world. 尽管科技龙头表示他们不希望出现这种情况， 但很难知道在这样不受限的虚拟世界当中，私人企业会有多大的自由权限。请同学看到 latitude， 很多人都知道这个字是纬度的意思，可是 latitude 还有另外一个意思，自由。比方说 Journalists have considerable latitude in criticizing public figures。 我们知道生活在像台湾这样子有言论自由的社会里，很多的记者他们呢是有很宽的、很大量的自由的权限，可以去评论公众人物的。接下来请同学看到这个句子的副词连接词 while， 它表示尽管的意思。好，接着呢，请同学看到第4个句子 There are also ethical issues which must be addressed。 老师想要跟大家说的是 address an issue， address this issue， 词语搭配就是处理这个议题。再来请同学看到 before 这个副词连接词，它所连接的子句 Before a metaverse can be made secure for all，all 后面其实是省略了 users。 好，再来请看到第5个句子 Fraudulent representations of people 这个句子。首先我们看到 fraudulent 这个形容词，在看到 fraudulent 之前，请同学特别注意 fraud 这个名词 F-R-A-U-D， 它其实就表示诈骗、欺骗的意思。像比方说有人呢犯了诈欺案，受到判刑确定了 The criminal was convicted of fraud， 就等于呢他的诈欺是判刑确定的。好，接下来我们这里说 fraudulent， 那就当然就是指的是伪造的，是诈骗的，是假的。接下来呢，请同学看到 all in all 这个副词片语，它所表示的是 on the whole 整体而言的意思。接着请同学看到第3段的第一个句子 All these discussions aside， aside 在这里呢是当作后修饰，就是这边呢我们可以说 aside 就是撇开不谈，尽管的意思，尽管有以上的这些讨论。好，最后呢请同学看到第3个句子，第3个句子里面主要子句 It's best to work proactively，请同学注意这个 proactively， proactive 就有先发制人的意思，就是必须要积极一点，要事先做好这些事情。好，以上就是我们针对第2天内容所做的中文讲解，谢谢大家。
That's it for today, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and please remember to join us again next time for another edition of our program. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.